Okay, hey guys, and welcome back. So in today's episode of our review series, we're just gonna take him back to hell difficulty, and we're gonna run a level of hell counts. So in our previous video, we did Hell Ancients and Hell Baal, as well as all the waves for Hell Baal, and we sliced through that like hot butter. I think most of you would agree. Nothing really posed a challenge. And if I had had better resistances, I wouldn't have had to go back to town at all either. So, but anyway, we go over to Stony Field here. We'll buff up our guy, battle orders, psychic ward, battle command, psychic ward, and battle orders. And then we'll just, we can actually take off the Thunder God's War Vigor as well as the Storm Shield, because even though cows can hit pretty hard, I think they'll be dead long before they ever get to our character. So let's swap back to our original gear. Let's see, where did I put that belt? There it is. So we just took some gear back in order to hit our breakpoints for things like faster cast rate, as well as higher damage with the Phoenix Monarch. So got lucky on this one. We already found Tristram very easily. Got some runes, some rares. Not a bad little gig overall here. Couple mobs, we'll take those, thank you very much. Like I said, guys, I wasn't lying when I said I'm a hoarder. Every potion, every little piece of gear I think might benefit. If I think it'll be good PvP item or good PvM item, or even good like LLD, which means lower level duels if you're new to the franchise. You know, like level 9 duels, level 18 duels, stuff like that. You know, I keep all those items because I do like dueling, and I like doing it at every level. It has its own kind of charm when you're restricted by level, like a level 9 or level 18 duel. And then when there's no restrictions and you can bring out your kitted characters at like level 99, you know, that's a lot of fun too. Okay, so kill all these guys here. I suppose PvP is kind of a good endgame for Diablo 2. The problem is PvP's really died down, I would say, in the last decade. It used to be such a roaring part of this game. There would be entire websites dedicated to the various guilds and things that would play PvP. Dare I say, almost like professionally, you know, they'd be on constantly. These guys really knew what they were doing. They had all the strategies and the skills down pat, lots of experience. And it was just amazing. Like, you know, I would participate, but I was never at that level. But it was just amazing to sit back and watch some of these guys, you know, go at each other and like just really dominate. And it's also really cool to see how the various builds have advantages over one another. Like, there's always that one build, like no matter how well you make your PvP character, it's never going to be 100% immune. There's always going to be those one or two builds that are going to take down your guy way too easily, right? And so that kind of keeps a balance in the PvP scene, right? There's not like the Hammered In just mows down all the characters. You know, if you make a good assassin or a good barbarian versus caster or something like that, the Hammered In doesn't stand a chance, right? So I don't think we're going to keep this ring. It's nothing special. I'll try not to get too distracted by the items, but as you guys can see, this is players 1 hell. And we're just, okay, we're gonna need our amp damage here. We're just, oh, actually we're already 75, so maybe what we'll do is we'll go to our shard stash and we'll take out our sunder here, our physical sunder. Maybe we'll put away one of these charms. Which one? This one's the lowest, so I'll take that away, put him in and see how he performs. So let's go back now to that character. Yeah, much better. And if we were to amp him, he'd be going down much faster still. So, but you know, that's alright. That was a reasonable kill speed, I would say. I'm satisfied with that. So, you know, going back to my rants about how items can be better here, we just found a Cruel Balance Knife, right? 289% enhanced damage. 42 level rec. Look at that abysmal damage, 23 to 42. This is a cruel item. This should be something I'm excited to find. Barely puts a dent in the monsters, right? So I don't know, I feel like Blizzard could still like tie their shoelaces better when it comes to like all those little fringe items like cruels and things. Believe it or not, there was a time back in the day, you know, people were trading for things like Cruel Gothic Bow of Quickness or Cruel Hydro Bow of Quickness or things like that. You know, before all the Wind Forces and all the Faith Bows and all those kinds of things made their way into the game, you know, Cruels and things had value. And so I think as the game got updated and power creep happened and, you know, items got better and more damage and things like that, better mods, a lot of these other items got left in the dust, and so items that used to have relevance at one point are essentially rendered completely irrelevant from the game, because they never bothered to update those items to stay relevant, right? And that's just the truth. It's not a balancing thing. It's not like, oh well, we wanted to leave those. No, they never went back to update those items to keep them relevant. So unfortunately, a lot of magic and rare items in the game that were once at least semi-relevant, you know, they had some value, they're completely irrelevant now. And so it just makes for clutter. And so I'm asking Blizzard one of two things when it comes to all this clutter stuff, right? Either just take it out of the game, right? Decrease the drop chance for all the junk, or make at least some of the junk relevant again. I'm not saying like, you know, every magical item that drops needs to have godly stats, or, you know, needs to have +3 skills and 4 sockets and this and that. But what I am saying is it would be exciting again to find, like, say, a jeweler's Archon Plate of the Whale or something with like 99 or 100 to HP and like some decent defense. But why not upgrade that, right, for modern gaming, and instead of 100 to life, which is still pretty negligible, we did something like 500 or 1,000 to life, right? And before you guys go, oh, that's OP, you know, just think about it. For a modern ARPG, right, is having 1,000 hit points from like one of your main gear items, like your breastplate or rather your chest armor, is that really an overpowered trait? Not really, and it would make for a really fun base then to put in things like you know, various facets or some of the new jewels that I'm yet to find in the expansion Reign of the Warlock here. Or, you know, you could go down the good old road of like max it out with 40 enhanced damage, 15 increased attack speed type jewels, or, you know, 40 enhanced damage, 15 to max damage or stuff like that. You know, I feel like instead of 24 faster hit recovery on like when you get like a jeweler's plate of stability and you get like 24% faster hit recovery, why not make that 100%, right? Again, it's not overpowered, and it incentivizes people to want to go ahead and find a use for those items, make a use for those items. As of right now, there just really isn't any, and a lot of those items, you know, they just get kind of passed up in a sense. Because, you know, what was once relevant in yesteryear when items weren't so GG, again, have been rendered just completely irrelevant by all of the new rune words and some of the top end uniques and things like that. And so these magical and rare items that used to have a place, like I realize, guys, you could still get a really nice rare weapon or something like that, right? But when's the last time, and be honest with yourself, when's the last time you found like a rare armor that was honestly worth using over, say, like an Enigma or a Fortitude, or even like, I don't know, a Zotted upgraded Ethereal Shaft Stop or something like that? When's the last time you found an armor in game that could outcompete some of the top end rune words and uniques? There just isn't one, right? And even if we're talking magical, like, yeah, sometimes people will use like the life-based armors or the stability ones, and then put like facets in there or other magical jewels. But that base mod for those items is kind of outdated, I feel like. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm a little too modern for the Diablo 2 fan base here, but truth is we have to adapt with the times. Those mods maybe were exciting when the game first came out, although truth be told, I wasn't excited to find them even back then. but like they're a lot less exciting to a modern audience that you're gonna have today, right? You need to stay relevant. And so, to that end, I think they could do a lot more to expand the usage of magical items as well as rare items. And like I mentioned it before, but I'll bring it up since we're talking about it. Uniques. I think there's just a lot of uniques that are forgotten. They were made in the early 2000s for when the game first released, pre even like Lord of Destruction. And I understand we need to like keep those uniques in the game. I'm not saying let's nuke the item list and start over, but at the same time, like I just don't understand what the reason is why we can't revisit those uniques and just enhance them a little bit, right? We don't even have to go crazy. Like, just enhance them to the point where they're more usable than they are in their current incarnation. Like, okay, here's an example. Sometimes people will use this one and it's at the real version. But look, for an elite unique, even for a one-handed, look at that damage. That's abysmal, right? 91 to 160. Okay, yeah, it's got 50% deadly strike, which is quite high. And it's got a nice little minus 33% of target defense. A little bit increased attack speed, very low enhanced damage roll, and some open wounds. Like, yeah, there's case use scenarios for this item, but something like a grief is going to beat it out every time, just straight up, right? So can't think of why anyone would use it. Even something like a flesh rip or fanged knife would be more powerful than that unique. So a lot of uniques are just outclassed by time. I don't remember what patch introduced Bone Snap, but there's an item that at least retains some of its like playability and value, right? Like, I will bother to upgrade these early and ladder and use them, right? An upgraded Bone Snap does a considerable amount of damage. You got the 40% crushing blow. You don't have a whole lot of other mods on there that are really very relevant, but like it does make for a good early weapon. Whereas some things just haven't really come very far with all of the patches and expansions and things. Okay, anyway, I don't want to drone on too much there, guys, but let's just finish up this chaos here and see if we run into any challenges while doing so. So far you guys can see most of the map has been revealed, so therefore I've been around most of the map already. No problems really so far with any of this. Again, pretty disappointing drops, like, yeah, venom grips, whoop-de-doo, oh well. Actually pretty disappointed with the drops on this particular cow run. I'm always encouraging people to run cows, but every once in a while you get a map like this where you're just like, oh yeah, okay, thanks. and you're just like, why did I bother running cows? But that's alright. RNG is a strong factor in this game, so it is what it is. You can't cash out every time at the cow level. Sometimes you're gonna have some dull runs where there's just not really a lot of good loot dropping. And again, I think I hammered this point home in the previous video, if anyone from Blizzard ever comes across these videos, but I think it would be great if we tuned up the drops, like, for real. I really mean that. I know Terror Zones has tuned up drops, but I just think in general for the whole game, like, we need to tune the drops up a little bit so that you're finding better things more consistently. When I say better things, I'm thinking about things like high-end runes, high-end uniques, superior bases, things that drive the economy and make the game fun. Jewels with good second mods and great first mods. Like, let's find more 40 enhanced damage, 15 increased attack speed jewels on our own, right? Without having to go to all the like unnamed game shops and things online to try to like scratch that itch. Let's make it more attainable to find these kinds of things in game. I think like a lot of people would be very grateful for that experience, and they wouldn't feel the need to like run and get a bot or something like that so that they can keep up and they can find some of those more niche and hard to find items. I think like botting on the whole would actually, to be honest, now that I'm saying this out loud, I kind of had a revelation, but Blizzard, you want like an idea on how to stop botting or at least bring it way down, tune up the drops. make it so average players can find items like the bots do, right? So that you don't have to do just endless runs with your bot just to get one unique, right? I understand some things need to stay hard to find, you know what I mean? To keep the game exciting in that way, but there's ways of doing that. And then also those items that are extremely hard to find, they need to have stats that reflect that, right? Like right now, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but let's just okay, I can't man. There's like an elite armor, right? I can't remember what it's called just now, but there's like this elite armor in the game. It's not Templar's Might, but it's something to that effect. And it's basically the hardest armor to get in the entire game, right? But the item is like a complete novelty. Like the statistics on it are kind of laughable. Like they're okay on their own, I guess, some of them, but overall for an item that's just so incredibly hard to find, the payoff is just so minimal, right? And I don't understand why they do that. I think it would be great to tune up the items, tune up the drops, so you get more, like you get better items more often, but also when you do get those better items, the stats reflect that they, we beef up those stats and make those items truly godly, truly GG, right? All right, guys, I think that's a wrap for this episode. So you could see secret cal level, absolutely no challenge. Players 1 hell. Again, if you guys want to see how it performs on player 8 cows or anything like that, let me know in the comments and we'll make it happen. All right, guys, see you next time.